Second Chances series with a very special guest that's really dear to my heart. And, he was able to maneuver through all the pitfalls of becoming one of the biggest names in the industry. And you ain't going to really want to miss this one. So stay tuned, guys. Let me run this, and then we'll figure out how we can get him on, answer some questions, and figure out what's going to happen later on in the future. All right. Welcome back, guys. Are you guys in for a treat? I wanted to say that, hello, my name is Gordon Watt, and I'll be your host. And today I'm talking with another powerful guest speaking about holding on to second chances. And Mr. Michale Jaimes Torres is also an expert in this field, and he has turned his lifelong mission into helping others do the same thing. Let's bring on Mr. Michale Torres right here. Mr.
Hey.
Michale Torres, welcome to the show. Right?
What's up, Mr. Gordon? Hey.
How you been? How you been? I just want to say I hope people will be watching this live or watching this on a replay. If you're watching this live on YouTube, give us a thumbs up. If you're going to be listening just to the replay, download, share it, because we have a lot of information. Right, Mr. Michale Torres Jaimes. He's one of my brothers from the past life, and besides that, just some of the accolades that he's overcame with holding on to second chances by going through this, right? He's a quantum life coach and a mental emotional release timeline specialist, right? He's also a certified life coach at the International Coaching Federation, trainer of coaches at Life Coach Institute, and an emotional release specialist, and much, much more. All right, I got people coming on here. Just to give a little bit, Michale Jaimes is also a hands-on expert on the subject of making the best of second chances, and he's going through it right now once you hear his story, alongside of many of my other guests that you've seen, and has graciously consented to this interview to share with us the stories and skills he has attained to become a personal life coach faster, easier, and quicker just from his experiences alone. And I just wanted to say, Michale Jaimes, thank you again for joining us for this live interview. And let's just jump in. Mr. Michale Jaimes Torres, everybody. Oh, look at people jumping on.
I can hear the crowd.
Yeah. We got 1,000 people listening on the other end. And I just want to say it's been a pleasure watching you grow, my brother.
Thank you.
Right. It's just been such a pleasure being your friend. In arms from back in. I've known Michale since, I want to say, 2001.
Yeah.
Basically, yes.
Wow.
Yeah. All right.
It's been a while. It's been a while.
Yes. And I just want to say, Mike, tell us a little about yourself.
Yeah. I want to ask you a question, though.
Okay, absolutely.
Is this on your personal page? Because it's not coming up. I wanted to share it on my timeline.
It's on my personal page right now. I'll share it to you. I'll share it for you on your friend's timeline right now. I'm going to put it on yours.
Great.
And this way we can get started. I mean, we can talk and
yeah. Okay, great. Let's jam it.
Go ahead.
Okay. Awesome. So check this out. First, I want to say thank you. Thank you for the introduction. Thank you for inviting me on the show. And I want to just say to you, Gordon, it's been an honor to know you. I mean, we've known each other through different phases of our lives, and it's rare sometimes to have people go through all the phases of life and still be there for you, still not just be there for you, but people that have evolved with you. Because I don't know for you guys watching this show, but for me, my friendships are important. The people that I care about, that I love, are important in my life. And there's nothing that I want more in my life, or that I desire more in my life, to be able to grow with the people that I care about, whether it's family or close friends. And this path, Gordon, which I'm sure you can attest to, is one of the most challenging things that I've had to do, is let go of certain people that I care about, still care about, but I had to let them go, because the path that I'm going on, the path that I'm being called to be on, was out of alignment with that other path. And as you know, environment is everything. Environment is everything, especially when we get to choose our environment, right? So I want to say to you, Gordon, thank
Absolutely.
you. Thank you for evolving with me alongside of me, for inspiring me too. Because there's been moments, a lot of moments when, you've inspired me and we've inspired each other. And here we are.
Right. It,
Here we are, brother.
it's do you know what's happening right now? It says you might have a block on your public settings because I can't share it to your page right now. How about
It's
I make
weird.
it? Yeah, it's
Oh,
really
yeah.
weird.
No, it's on. I got you
Okay,
on now.
okay,
See,
cool. All right,
I'm
cool.
sharing it.
I just wanted to know. I just wanted to make it so that some of your viewers, anyway, we can watch this on a replay because I'll be putting this on a podcast and turning it into some sort of different pieces of content because I just wanted to get this message out. I want to tell you something about Mr. Michael Jaimes.
Yeah.
He's grown so much as an individual from when we used to talk on the benches of our past lives, and certainly even when he grew into this person that is who you are right now. And it goes to show that, it doesn't matter what happens in your background, what happens to you, to be able to move forward into something that changes you, not just emotional, but spiritually and mentally, to become the person. It takes a little time and effort, but let's jump into some of these questions that I wanted to just ask you, like, right? And since this is
Yes.
a real talk, real stories, and I know you can talk about this from the heart that people might be able to relate to, right?
Hmm.
Where was your rock bottom that made you realize that you had to change?
Great question. And when it comes to rock bottoms, people talk about that a lot. People share stories of their rock bottoms and when they shifted and when they changed. And I want to say something about that. I want to say that not everybody has to go through a major rock bottom to
Mhm.
change. And what the work that I know, the message that Gordon does, because what Gordon does, if you guys don't know, if you guys are watching him on my timeline, this guy's an incredible human being. He's out there impacting the youth. He's out there giving his time, giving his energy in Real Talk. It's an organization that's incredible. Look it up. They're out there making a big difference in the community. And I say that because to do that work requires something special, right? From an individual that wants to give of themselves. So to mention rock bottom, and why am I mentioning that is because what we're about, I know what I'm about, is
Mhm.
being able to help people evolve into better versions of themselves without having to hit major rock bottoms,
Yes.
right? Right. So I don't
Yes.
want you to hear my story and be like, oh my God, Michael's rock bottom was this. So that means I
Yes.
need to
Nope.
have something like that to be able to elevate
Nope.
to where he's at. That's bullshit. I want to call it out right now. You don't
Hey,
need
oh
to hit
yeah,
a rock bottom. You don't need to hit a
exactly.
rock. Now that was my past because I'm what's called a stove toucher, right? And
Hmm.
stove touchers learn because you say, don't touch the stove, it's hot, right? We're like, it is. Psh, fuck, it is hot. Right? So I learned the hard way, but I think that's part of my path. That
Yes.
I learned that way so that I can have actual bona fide experience, so that when I speak and when I teach and when I help, I'm not coming from just I read it in a book. Right? I actually
Yep.
lived some of this stuff. Gordon has lived some of this stuff, and we've had to evolve and learn certain tools. So the one that really shifted for me was when I was sitting in a federal detention center, and I was sitting there and I was looking at 20 to life
Right.
for drug conspiracy, and I
Right.
was sitting there going like, wow, I couldn't see my life anymore. It was gone. In 20 years, it was like my son's
Mhm.
grown up, my parents are passed away. I'm gonna be so old. I mean, it felt like I was gonna die, and that led to some major, major, major depression in those days, in those months. And the depression was so heavy and so strong, the stress was so strong and so heavy that I had raccoon eyes because I wasn't sleeping. I was isolating myself in the small little unit that I was in because I didn't want to talk to anybody because I was fighting my case. I was going to fight my case. And I was at such a low. I was at such a low, and I felt physically so sick. I felt like the worst hangover I had ever had in my life, the worst. But it didn't go away, right? A hangover, it might last for a day or two. This was like going on every single day. And what I began to realize as I looked in the mirror and I saw myself looking so pale and near death, I began to realize how strong the mind is, because I was causing that stress with my thinking,
Wow.
by worrying, by stressing, by thinking of the worst case
Wow.
scenario, by the regret, by the anger, by the guilt that I was experiencing, the shame that I was experiencing of how did I end up there. My parents
Right.
having to come see me and them crying, my son crying, my ex not working out with me when I was there, and all these things led to just a really was my the bottomless pit. It feels like I was falling and falling and I just didn't see out. And every time my lawyer came to see me, it was worse news. It was like it went from like it went like 5 years to like 10 years, and then 10 years to 20 years. I'm like, wow, what's next?
Right.
And
Right.
it was in that moment that I'm like, I just felt so bad. And I remember seeing this guy. He was walking around, and he was the only guy out of the people that were there that was happy. He genuinely seemed happy. And I'm like, I would watch him walk around and be like, how is this guy so freaking happy? And you see, one of the things that when I work with my clients one on one, and
Uh-huh.
see, my clients come to me in those desperate moments, in maybe not sitting in a cell, but different types of experiences. My
Mhm.
clients come to me with stress, with feeling like they're stuck, with feeling like there's no hope, and that's what I was going through. So now, because I went through that, I'm able to coach people, men and women, and
Right.
go through those experiences, because what they come to us for, what they come to me for, is they
Hmm.
don't care that I went to prison. They're like,
Yep.
you went from that to this, you can help me change my career, you can help me get in better shape, you can help me find that relationship, right? So these
Yes.
experiences,
Yes.
those of you watching, they're universal experiences. And let me share with you what I'm
Yes.
exactly I'm talking about. You see, we were in prison physically, but what I learned and what I'm going to share with you, with this guy that I met in there, in this conversation I had, was I began to realize after this conversation I had with that one guy that was walking around really happy. His name was Harold. And I went up to Harold and I'm like, I knocked on his door and I said, Harold, I don't really know you, but I gotta talk to you, man. He said, come in. Yeah, that big old smile, that warm
Right.
smile he had. And can you guys relate with this? Can you guys relate with knowing somebody that you've ran into that has that warmth? Yes? Can you guys
Yes.
relate? Give us a comment. That somebody you
Yes. Yes.
that
Yes.
has that, they have that glow. He had that glow, and it was incarcerated. This guy's walking around, and I'm in this cell, and he starts talking to me. And what I didn't know then, what I know now, is he was coaching me. He was
Right.
coaching me. It was coaching me with his words, with his questions, and with his knowledge. And what began to happen in that conversation is that I actually left that cell feeling better for the first time in like 2 months.
Beautiful.
And
Mm.
he gave me some books, and he started talking to me about spirituality and personal growth. And
Right.
for those of you guys listening to this, this might hit home, because you see, it's not the information, it's the timing. It was the right time for me to hear this information, and my soul woke up. And it was from that moment that I began to see things differently. And in that moment, I began to see and experience things differently. And I started to read the books he gave me, and they were talking about the inner love. They were talking about this God that is comes in all different religions, and how the answers are within. And it was so foreign, yet so, it's like I always knew it, but it was brand new. It was really weird. Something woke up in me, and I began from that moment on a obsession quest to want to
Basically.
discover more about myself, more about what God is, who God is, what this whole purpose of life is. And I dove into a deep dive of self-discovery. And so that's kind of that was the rock bottom. And then
Yes.
what began to happen is, and for you guys that are on this show, you guys can maybe relate with this. You're probably that person that people come to when they're down, and they come to you because of your energy, or because of the way you carry yourself, or because you're able to see things or help them see things differently. So I started to become that herald for other people while incarcerated. And men would come to me and talk to me and be like, why are you so happy in here, right? And I'll be like, well, you want to sit down and let's have a conversation. And I began coaching men in there. Not all of them, the ones that were open
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
See, one of the basic principles for coaching that I teach the coaches that I mentor now is you have to have permission. Right, Gordon? You have to have
Right. Yeah.
permission. If you don't have permission and you try to share your wisdom, even though it's coming from, like a good place,
Yeah.
people they're going to like be like, what are you?
Yep. Yep.
They're gonna
Yeah.
resist because there's no permission. And so when men would give me permission, I would have that conversation. But that I didn't learn that the easy way. Was at first, when we get this knowledge, we just want to tell everybody, right? Because it feels so good. And people, if they don't want to, if they're not ready to hear it, they're gonna be like, get away from me, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So that began that path. And I just read, hundreds of books while I was in there, but I didn't just
Yeah.
read books. I studied books. I integrated books. I would take notes. I started to change my vocabulary in there. I started to learn different definitions of
Oh
different
yeah.
words. I got some schooling in there, as Gordon did.
Yeah.
And we used that time as a learning opportunity. And because I began to read about this term called an ashram. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that term, but what an ashram is, it comes from India. An ashram is a place that you go to, and you go to get away from society, and you get away from electronics, and you get away from all the things that are distracting, and you go to this ashram to be in silence, to be still, to do self-reflection, to do different
Right.
meditation practices. So I said to myself, wow, this is the perfect ashram.
Right.
And I started
Right.
to use that environment of being incarcerated as a holy experience,
Right.
as an experience for me to learn about myself. And what better place to do it than the place with a bunch of men who are so wounded, who are projecting their anger and their guilt onto me. So I started to learn how to how to not allow my environment to affect me, and how to stay grounded, how to stay solid, how to stay, how to discover who I am and walk in who I am, no matter what anybody else is saying. So I knew if I could
Absolutely.
be successful in there, as you did, Gordon, I knew if I
Right.
could be
Right.
successful in there. And let me tell you about success. This is the true success, right? True
Yes.
success isn't necessarily how much money you make,
Nope.
how many cars you have, how many women or how many boyfriends you have. Those things aren't success, or even your external things. Those are cool. But the success I'm talking about here was the internal success. It was the fulfillment, it was the internal joy, it was the internal peace, the happiness, all of that stuff that says right here, right now,
Right.
I feel whole,
Right.
perfect, and complete, and still not finished because I'm evolving. And that
Absolutely.
was my success that I was able to achieve in there. Now you can have the external things. I'm not knocking the external things, guys. Trust me, I like nice things. You see a pool behind me, right? That's external. But the external is only meaningful if you have the equal internal, and if what that goes with that. So
Right.
the external doesn't give you the internal. Your internal comes from the connection to your own self-discovery, your own spirituality, and from there,
Hmm.
then it overflowed to the outside, right? So I'm not sure if I that was my major rock bottom. One of them. I've had
No,
several.
hey, guys, if you're gonna be watching this on a replay or you're watching this on live, usually I would get engaged with everything else. But guys, Mr. Hymas just gave you the keys to yourself, all in a nutshell. That alone has changed minds, his, many others. And I can speak hands on 100% true to what he said because he used to meditate in the garden, right? He used to meditate in the garden. He applied all the books that he had. In fact, this quest of his started while we were both inside. And we always told ourselves, he always told me, I remember sitting on a bench with you, brother.
Mm,
When we get out, what
yeah,
are we going to do? Right.
yeah.
And Mr. Jaimes is doing it exactly. So basically, he dug his well, applied it, he practiced it. Everything that he's saying right now, especially if you're going to be watching this on the replay or listening to it later on, everything he says is 100% true. And I stand by it because when you're in a bucket of just garbage, what better place to practice what he just talked about? What better
Mm,
place to apply? because what we did inside there, I mean, some of them thought we was crazy, and then, but at the same time, when we're at the stage that we are in the season of life that we're in right now, who's
Mhm.
crazy now, right?
Yeah.
It's like, you see me a smiley face. Mike always was happy, and yet the whole key to this is, where do you find your herald at the right time, the right place to move in
Mhm.
a direction and help other people? Because Mike's servant heart, he serves for the people that feel underserved,
Mhm.
and he gives
Yeah.
them enlightening to a lot of these things that he does for his thing. All right. Let me ask you this, Mike. I mean, we're just buddies talking. Just that you guys are getting golden nuggets when you're watching this.
Yeah.
How is it holding on to that second chance, applying to your life right now?
Yeah, that's a good question. And so one of the things that I can share is that how you view time is a really, really important aspect to life.
Oh,
And so one of the
oh,
things that we learned in there is how to view time in a way that it's not escaping you, that it's not that there is enough of everything. And so how I'm able to answer your question is, now what I'm able to do now is, since then, I've started from the bottom. When I got out, didn't have anything, was struggling financially, having to get secondhand clothes at different places, catching the bus, going through all the bureaucracy of federal
mhm.
probation. So there was we got out with a big weight on ourselves. But there's nobody to blame because we created that weight. We created that. So I had to
Yeah,
take responsibility for it. So
yes.
it was how I began to view time, which started in there. You see, everybody in there, most everybody in there, are like, I hate being here and I can't wait to get out to start my life. And I view time as Gordon viewed time, like, wow, I don't have enough time in here to prepare me because when I get out, I have a mission. That was the major
Yeah.
difference that we had, that most people, and there's a few other people like us that were in
Yeah.
there that were doing that, and you saw them evolve. And so I've carried that same mentality out here,
Right.
right? And so I
Right.
get out here and I'm like, okay, I'm always like, there's not like I need to. I'm preparing myself. I'm always preparing myself. So when I got
Right.
out and I started at my rock bottom again, when I was out, I knew what I needed to do.
Right.
And so I did what I had to do until I got to
Right.
do what I want to do. Let that land, guys. I did what I had to do until I got to do what I want to do. In the
Right.
beginning, I washed cars.
Yep.
I worked
Yep.
for a limousine company. I worked
Yep.
for a restaurant doing fine dining, waitering. Those are the things that I had to do.
Right.
Then I got to do what I want to do because I
Exactly.
had the vision of what I wanted to do. So alongside those things, I knew that I wanted to, number one, change my environment, because in prison, that was the environment that I was in. But your environment is everything. It's like a petri dish, right, with microorganisms, and each one affects each one. So I knew that I needed to change my network. So
Mm.
I went to personal growth seminars because I wanted to meet new people.
Right.
And I wanted to get some more education on how to do and learn more of what I learned. So I invested. I invested heavily into myself
Oh.
financially. While I was on probation, my probation officer couldn't understand because most of her clients, she couldn't get them to go to any classes that were free. I'm paying for classes. I'm paying for personal growth seminars, thousands of dollars at each one to go learn about myself. So she was like, wow, this guy's really serious, right? And I was learning and I was growing and I was building a network of people that I could surround myself with, that could support me, that I could support them, right? Because we all need support. So that's why I knew that
Absolutely.
what I've created now is a community of other coaches, of other people that want to evolve.
Right.
And because as together, as a society, as a community, as a tribe, as a family, we can support each other. And
Yep.
so I got involved in science seminars. I took all of their courses. I've done MITT seminars. I've worked with Dr. Sue Morter, worked with energy medicine. I've met that Michael Beckwith. I've taken some of his classes, and I've also taken NLP, which is neuro linguistic programming, which is basically how to really master communication with yourself and others, how to
Mm-hmm.
master your mind, I learned about how to use or install certain applications in your mind like you do on your phone
Yes.
to get results. So
Yes.
I did the practitioner course, I did the master practitioner
Yes.
course, and then I took it to a whole nother level and I became a trainer of neuro linguistic programming. Then
Yes.
I took their 1 year long coaching program and learned the art of coaching. And since then, I've continually taken other courses.
Yep.
I've invested in heavily in some of the
Oh.
latest and greatest marketing and branding companies to help me learn certain strategies and tools that I now help
Mhm.
other coaches with. I've hired a coach. I'm the
Yep.
coach that I'm working with right now is $60,000 that I paid him for a year. I mean, he's not
Yep.
cheap. So I'm still investing in the best of the best because I know that I'm want to play and I am playing at that level. So
Right.
I invest. And one of the major things for you guys listening to this is is you have to invest in yourself because you are the
Got to.
most important investment that there is. Not
Got
your
to.
car,
Yep.
not your house. Those are
Yep.
important investments. You, your well-being, your health, your mindset, your emotional stuff. You are the product. You are, and the more that you invest in you, the more that you're going to evolve. So what I do now is yeah, I work with people one-on-one, and that's a very select group that I do. It's a very small group that I do, but I also lead groups. Now that I've, after 5 years of coaching hundreds of people, for the
Hmm.
past two years, I've been teaching classes. So I teach group classes. I certify life coaches under the ICF, which is the International Coach Federation. So I make sure that I follow a standard, right?
Right.
Make sure that I follow because there's ethical guidelines in coaching. There's morals. There's a lot of things that
Absolutely.
go with that. So now I lead groups. I teach people to do what I do. But guys, for those of you that want to do this work, you have to learn. You have to master your craft first, right? You
Absolutely.
can't
Yep.
teach people until you've mastered your craft. So I spent 5 years mastering my craft. 10 years before that, incarcerated. So I've been in this game. When I mean game, I mean
You've been
personal
in the
growth
game. Yeah.
for 19 years. So
I
this is
was just
19 years, and Gordon likewise. What 18 more, I think, if not 18 years. So it's not like we just woke up and all of a sudden we're making these fucking videos
no.
going like, this is what
Yeah.
you guys need to do.
Yeah.
We
No.
have put in the work, guys. And for you guys watching this, maybe at any level, whether you went through a past like ours or whether you haven't, maybe you've been working corporate, maybe you have a job, maybe you own your own business and you want to transition into
Ooh,
something
yes.
new, you have to put in the work to something
Right.
new. You have to master a new craft, right? And I work with a lot of coaches who have never had their own business. So I have to coach them on the entrepreneur mindset.
Right.
This is really important because it's a different mindset. There's
Hmm.
there's the clock puncher mindset and there's the entrepreneur mindset. Two different mindsets. And a lot of coaches don't realize the importance of being able to master the entrepreneur mindset, right? And so what I teach now is I've taken my experiences that Gordon does. So I've taken years of experiences, years of mistakes with that are nothing more than feedback. And I've created certain formulas, certain
Yes.
processes that I can give people the formula and say, look, this is the formula. This is the strategy. And this strategy, if you apply it, is going to get you results, but I can't do the formula for you,
Yep.
right? And then there's this is the mindset, and I can coach you on this is the mindset. I can give you
Hmm.
the tools that can help you work through the limiting beliefs of the unconscious mind. Then I can say the third step is this. Now you need the skill set. And this is where people drop off, Gordon, right here, right? Because Will Smith says talent can only get you so far. There's a
Yep.
lot of people that are talented and never go anywhere in life. In
Yep.
sports, in engineering, in business, they got a talent. Everybody has a talent, but they don't get the skill set because they don't take the
Right.
time to hone in, to perfect, to sharpen the talent. That's skill. Skill is beating on your craft. This is what Will Smith says. It's beating on your craft over time is skill. And so in any field, whether you're thinking about becoming a life coach or you're thinking about becoming a musician or you're thinking about becoming an athlete, whatever you want to do, there's this certain part that's called the skill set. And if you want to know more about that, pick up the book called Mastery by Robert Greene. It's an amazing book. He talks about the different denominators of all the people who have achieved the level of mastery. And there's certain formula and key codes that you can't escape. There's the 10,000 hour theory or 10 years. But basically what that's saying, it's not the time. This is what's key. It's not that you need 10 years. It's the focus that you have in the 10 years.
Oh, exactly. It's the leverage. It's
It's
the
the
leverage. The leverage of
yeah,
applying what you have in the amount of time that you've been given, because there's two different sets of people, like you said. But let's go back to your story. Mikey, what he says 100% true, because when he calls me or I call him, we check up, since we do brother checkups and stuff. He's invested heavily into his education,
yeah,
applied, hired his mentor, right? Did the dirty work, did the certain things that where he can actually say he's controlling everything that he does right now. But from the past, he couldn't control anything because he had to do what he had to do. Same like myself. And even if you put yourself in a box, say you like Mike said, it's not because we in physically in the prison. You might be putting yourself in a box mentally, emotionally, and everything else, that you need to have somebody like Mike, myself, or your Harold figure out how to pull you out of that box so that you can move forward with whatever you have going on. Mike, way back when, Mike used to call me up. It's like, oh, what are you doing? I'm coming to Vegas. This is real talk. I want you to come to the seminar. Let's see if we can hang out. Maybe if I told Mike, come over to the house. You got a house to stay over here anytime. You know what I mean? But he slept on couches. He was broke. He came
yeah,
out with nothing. You know what I mean? He's holding on
yeah,
to his second chances right now. He even got, I remember this one star real specifically. You got granted that scholarship to do what you're doing now. And that was your stepping stone to
yeah,
everything right
yeah,
now. Right? And he just catapulted into
yeah,
that. Guys,
yeah,
how do you get,
yeah,
right? If you're investing in
yeah,
a mentor 60, 100,000 into something, you playing on a serious level, right?
yeah,
You playing on a
yeah.
serious level right there. Same like myself, right? I tell a lot of people, if you don't have the money, you can get a
Mm,
scholarship, you can get help,
yeah,
invest the time, dig your
yeah,
well, get on people's
yeah,
groups, do things that going to propel you into something where that time comes, like with this
yeah,
situation with COVID and stuff, things
yeah,
can move on. And
yeah,
I've met some of I've met some
yeah.
of Mikey's clients, and they're like ecstatic when they come in, because Mike just did a live video on a coaching call that is
Mm-hmm,
so powerful. And
mm-hmm.
this is me being honest. I'm like, look at this dude right here. He's pulling this thing, and I love it. I honestly love
Yeah,
that stuff, because if you can serve anybody to become a better place, it's actually, like I tell people, it's actually a gift, a blessing, and a curse at the same time. Right? You can
yeah,
relate to this a lot. Let me ask you this
yeah,
one, right?
yeah.
Yeah, we can talk about this till we blue in the face. Like, what would be something different that you would do in your business, knowing what you knowing now, moving forward?
Yeah, it's a good question. If I knew what I knew, you mean like back, is the question like back then? What would I do different back
In
then?
present tense, it's something like
Yeah.
just 5 years ago. We've been at this for a little while now. Pick one that really resonates with you, that made you shift, pivot, get out of that paradigm, get out of that state that you was in,
Yeah.
right? You always have one. That one that
Yeah.
just like, oh, that thing's like, I mean,
Yeah.
what
Well, I
happened? You know
mean,
what
I
I mean?
mean, well, here's the thing, and it's like I want to talk about a word that sometimes gets a bad rap, or can get a bad rap, and that's obsession.
Okay.
Obsession can
Oh,
get a bad rap when people say, "Oh, he's obsessed" or "she's obsessed." Like it's kind of like a negative thing, like they can't stop. But I don't view obsession as a negative thing. I view obsession as a positive thing.
oh
And
yes.
and like you said, you mentioned a couple of things. Like let me be really clear with everybody, like and super direct. Since 2012, which is when I was released, we're in 2020 now,
Oh.
which is eight years. There have been many lows in
Mm-hmm.
that process,
Mm-hmm.
many lows.
Mm-hmm.
Gordon talked about when I lived on a couch. That's 5 years ago. That's not that long ago. 5 years
Mm-hmm.
ago, I was living on, going from house to house, didn't have a place to stay, because not because I couldn't make money. Let me talk
Yeah.
about something right here. This
Get
is what
clear.
I'm
Get
talking
clear.
about
Yeah.
here. It's
Yeah.
not because I couldn't make money. It's because I made a decision that I was going to do what I love, and I
Right.
was going to make it at that. So I let
Right.
go of all the other stuff that I could have done.
Right. Right. Right.
It's not
Right.
that I couldn't survive. I could, but I was doing things that were not my calling. And God was saying to me,
Ooh.
was saying to me, trust me. You're chasing crumbs, and I want to give you the kingdom.
Right.
But I was so fucking scared because I didn't believe in myself enough to be able to impact people and create a living. Guys, let this land, because
Oh.
I had been impacting people before that
Right.
for
Right.
14 years, but I
Yeah.
never made a living at it. For all of you guys
Oh.
out there helping people out and are broke as a joke, which is I was,
Yeah.
there is a way in
Yes. Yes.
integrity, with ethics, with morals, to
Right.
create a living doing what you're here to do. And that's when I made the decision at that time. I listened to, it was a clip from Jim Carrey.
Okay.
And I heard this clip, and he was talking to the Maharishi graduating group, the college group. And Maharishi is like, it was like a spiritual college. And he was giving a speech, and he was sharing a speech. And he shares a story about his dad. And in that story, he says that his dad was just an amazing man, a talented comedian, great human being. And his dad came to a point in his life where he was like, is he going to be a comedian, or is he going to do what he needs to do for the family? And he didn't see that he could make it with the comedian life. So he took the safe job, working in like some company, and he did that and for years. And his dad ended up getting fired from that job.
Mm.
And he said, I learned a lot from my dad. One of the lessons is that you can fail at what you don't love or don't like doing. So you might as well take a chance at what you do. And it just like floored me, man. I heard that thing going, it was like
Oh, that's
boom. I'm
deep.
like, since I've been out incarcerated, I had many lows. I invested 20,000 in an online company, failed. I had lost the money and it was on the couch, failed. And I'm like, you know what? When I lost that income the second time, and I was sitting there going like, do I go back and hustle, or do I just take a leap of faith? And this is what I want to talk about. The obsession comes in. I had to become
Yes.
obsessed. I had to become absolutely obsessed with my craft, with being the best that I could be in my field, with doing whatever it takes. Of course, within ecology.
Right.
Ecology,
Right.
guys. Ecology means good for your body, good for others, and good for the community. As long as my values were aligned, doing whatever it takes,
Right.
doing whatever it takes, and asking myself this question that I want to ask you guys to ask yourself: what are you not willing to do? And go do that shit right there.
Exactly.
Go do that.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. This is what I tell a lot of people. Ask me, Gordon. It's like Mike. How do you do it? This is what I said. If you want to, depending on what you're doing, I tell people this. I did exactly the opposite of what I was used to doing.
Yeah,
Right? Exactly the opposite, because what I did before didn't work. Take away all the
yeah,
money, the cars, the power, and all that the other bullshit. And I went on this quest, as you see now, becoming the best human being I could be possible
yeah,
in the time frame that I have right now, because the damage I've caused, not just to myself but other communities. And I did
yeah,
exactly the opposite, from thinking, the mindset, my emotions. In fact, before this all started, Mikey asked me, Gordon, let's go do something. And I told, this is a true story. I told Mikey, let me go find myself after I get my son. And I just, right before the show, I explained to him what happened. And Mike had a smile on his face, like, and it, am I afraid of being a father? Hell yeah, because I never did. Was a good one, right?
yeah,
But that's just one of those things that I you're gonna fail. You're gonna have emotions. You're gonna have certain things. But like Mike said, you got to be so obsessed with what you want to do and become the best at it. You know what I mean? I can tell that most people will give up at the first chance, like this COVID thing
yeah,
happening right now. A lot of people is
Yeah,
throwing in
yeah.
the towel.
So check
Perfect.
this
Go
out,
ahead. Go ahead.
Gordon, with COVID thing, right?
Yeah.
In the group that I lead,
Right.
in week 2 of COVID, the group that I lead was Coaching Performance Mastery, right? I took a group of people, and during that difficult time, I was able to mentor coaches to hit over $25,000. 30 some hit $30,000 in COVID. So you can't. That doesn't mean
Nice.
shit, right? This is to your point. And
Yeah.
so, but
Yeah.
I want to say, I want to just give,
Yeah.
I want to say something to people because I know I'm making it seem like about me and I did this, and yeah, it's you, right? So here's the thing: like when you look in the mirror, you have this. Sometimes it's just you in the mirror, you and God, you in spirit, you in the mirror. But I want to also remind people something and say something. I didn't do it alone.
Yeah.
I didn't do it alone. Not only did God support me, but there's been other human beings that God worked
Uh,
through. That is
yeah.
why I'm here. So I want to give credit to some of those people because, and
Yes.
if I didn't, and if I don't mention you, like that doesn't mean
Yes.
there's been more than a few that have believed in me, and supported me, even financially,
Yes.
emotionally, throughout the last, what is it, 8 years. That's why I'm here too. And I believe
Right.
that it was God working through them to help me, but it was through other human beings. And
Mm-hmm.
you never know who you're going to meet that's
Yep.
going to be that person. So I've had my friend Surul, he's helped me out
Good.
financially throughout certain times in my life. I've had this one of my good dear friends who I still talk to. Her name is Alma Flores. She's helped me out. You talked about a scholarship I got. That
Mm-hmm.
was from Dr. Matt, who scholarshiped me into some of the NLP programs, and then I hired him, paid him 60,000. And then there's my friend Jules. Jules, when there was a seminar and I wanted to go to the men's leadership, I didn't have enough money. He helped me get to that. There's been people like that, guys,
Right.
along my journey. So I want to make sure I'm clear. Like I had a lot of support too. I've
Oh yeah.
my family have supported me, right? So you have to be willing and open to ask for support too. It's really, really important. Like we don't
Absolutely.
have to do it alone. I've got a program now, and if somebody really honestly can't afford what my program costs, I give them a scholarship. But it's got
Right.
to be genuine, and it's because they're really in that financial situation. And there's some other criteria that I go with. But I also believe in giving back. And Gordon, you're huge on giving back, brother. So if you want to be successful, you should be giving back, right? Now
Absolutely.
I'm in a position where I can give back now, so I
Yeah.
do. But in the beginning, this is a mistake a lot of people make, is they give back too soon. Let
True.
me tell you what I mean by that. They're struggling, they're down, and they're volunteering all their time and helping everybody, but they haven't helped the number one person, which is themselves. If
Themselves.
you don't
Right.
help yourself first,
Yeah.
if you don't fill your cup with the Holy Spirit, with your abundance, with your financial, you can't give what you don't have. You
Mm-hmm.
can't
Mm-hmm.
give what you don't have. If you don't have inner joy, you can't give it. If you don't
Right.
have love, you can't give it. If you don't have financial resources, you can't give it. So I had to cultivate myself. I was giving away love and joy, but I couldn't help people out because I was financially at a bad place. And now I've created
Mm.
that the financial wealth to go with my inner wealth, so I have both, right? And it's
One step.
possible for you guys. If Gordon and I can go from where we can go, right? If I can go from coming out in federal probation, washing cars, working as a restaurant person, working as a limousine driver, to being on a couch, to making multiple six figures in integrity, helping other people, guys, you can
Mhm.
do whatever you want to do in your life at any stage. And that's the message we really want to give you guys,
Right.
wherever you're at. It doesn't have to be that if you were, incarcerated, you can do it. But even if you're not incarcerated, here's the thing, is that we learn. I'm going to speak for Gordon because I've had this conversation and I know he's going to agree with this. We were in prison in here before we were in prison. And there's a lot of people walking around who have never been to physical prison,
Yeah.
but they're living in this mental prison that
Right.
Gordon and I can help you guys break out of, because
Yeah.
that's what we've done. We've just broken out of the mental prison that we created, that society put on us, that our parents, because they didn't know any
Woo.
better, or lack of parents, they put this prison. A lot of people right now are walking around enslaved in their own minds, right? So we want to help people break free of that, and so you can be really free, so you can explore and have fun. Why not, right?
Yep. Ooh, this is hey. Let this guys. This is gonna be. We're gonna have to bring back Mike later on in the future to get more deep into our things because all the stuff that when I tell a lot of people what say somebody like Mike does, or all my other people that's going to be coming on here as other guests, all we do is we want to help people get to where they want to be potentially, because what people see in Mike is huge potential, right? And then along the process, you have to figure yourself out. And part of that is experience, wisdom, applying, failing, going through all the bullshit that we've been through to be where you're at, sitting at right now. Because
Yeah.
let's face it, guys, I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to tell you God's honest truth right now, right? The reason why I became the a marketer type of guy because Mike introduced me to something a long time ago. We made a little money. We failed. I mean, we did that, but we learned from it to where we are right now is
Yeah.
just ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
People people want your services. People want you to help them. But like a big point to you says it, you have to be full inside to be able to
Yeah.
give. And it goes to show, like even for me, even for myself, it's just really, like we read a lot of Tony Robbins books while we was inside because we was all on that same path, right? He always talks about being that emotional abyss state, right?
Yeah.
Once people hit that, when you really understand that, life goes in another direction that if you're not prepared and you haven't been through it to have a little foundation, things get really, really great, right? He's touched that. I've touched it, right?
Mhm.
And it's better than any drug, any euphoric feeling that you have because you know you're in control of a lot of things that you never was before. And it's just through that process. Mike,
Yeah.
let me
Yeah.
ask let me
Yeah.
ask you. You can relate
Yeah.
to
That's
that
good.
really, really good, right? Yeah, right.
Oh
But it's
yeah,
like,
man. Jeez.
let me ask you this. How can, before we close out the show, anything you want to say that could point them in the right direction, whether it's going to be later on in the future or where, because this way they might want to follow you on your social media, get your program one day, give them a little step and where they can reach you at.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Yeah. Well, I mean, I just want to say, like, I think one thing I want to mention to everybody is whatever you want to really do with your life, you can do it. You can honestly really do it. Like the mind is a powerful tool. Like it's a horrible master. It's a beautiful servant. Invest in learning more about how the mind works and how to be more in control of your emotional state.
Right.
If you can learn to master how your mind works in your emotional state, then you can have what's called alignment with those. And when you have alignment, you can channel your higher power, you can channel spirit, you can channel the force that created the universe. And so I want to just encourage you guys to do the work around that, and don't be afraid to invest in yourselves, guys. Don't
No.
be afraid to invest. If you invest in my program, cool, come, you can hit me up. I have coaching programs, but if it's not me, you don't resonate with my energy, invest in something, because
Right.
what happens, like, is not just the information. A program like the one that I have is it takes you through a process, and I like, and I hold your hand through the process, right? And it helps with motivation and accountability, and it gives you certain steps, key codes and formulas for success. And there's other programs like mine out there, other people who are leading the way in this education of personal growth. Get involved in that. Don't be afraid to invest. You can take free stuff, but there's something that happens when you invest financially in yourself. There's a difference. There's something that happens energetically because there's a currency exchange. Remember, the word
Exactly.
currency means current. It's supposed to flow. So
Yep.
where are you flowing that currency in? Are you flowing that currency into things that really don't help you? Like, are you going, is it to Friday night happy hour when it could be going to a course that can help you become a better person? So where are you flowing that current, and is it coming back to you to multiply your return? So invest your money, and not just return like that your money needs to make you more money. Those are good investments too. But I'm talking about investing in places that help you become the better version of you, so that you can have more joy and more happiness and have less regret. Because the number one thing that they've done with people before they pass, they asked them, they said, I wish I would have done that thing that I wanted to do. And that's a story I want to end with this, where there's a guy that passed away, and he ended up at the pearly gates. He was at the pearly gates, and he crossed through the pearly gates, and he sees this vision. He sees this picture of a person off in front of him. He's not sure who it is, and he starts walking towards this person. And he's getting closer, and it gets clear, and he goes, "That person looks familiar." And he gets up to the person, and he looks at this person, and he goes, "Wow, that's who I wish I would have been while I was still alive."
Beautiful.
Don't let that be you guys.
Yes, beautiful.
Be that person. Be that person now.
Beautiful. That's it. I live by pretty much that. I mean, we lived the past life. We went through that. It didn't get us nothing. But I just want to say, if you want to reach out to Mike Jaimes, he's a dear friend of mine. In fact, he's like just as close as my brother with the rest of the people that I bring on here, because we're all moved on and want to help other people. All right,
Yeah.
Mike, this has been,
Thank you.
thank you, Mike Jaimes, for a great interview. I'm sure all the future life coaches, entrepreneurs, anybody who wants to get out of their box, or anyone in our audience listening this on the podcast, streaming on YouTube later on, watching this on our face, they're probably going to be about 500 views by the end of the day. Hopefully, you can reach out to Mike, see how we can help you and everything else, and how important that second chance is to hold on to, even no matter where you are in life right now, right? And thank you for watching. I think so. Next week I have a situation, but I'll probably fill in a show somewhere in between in the week. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the thumbs up. If you're watching this on Facebook, please leave us a comment so I can bring you more things like this that can actually move you in the right direction. Thank you, Mike. It's been a pleasure watching you grow, and hope to get you on this show and help you move on to wherever we got together. And I just want to say,
Let's do it.
I love you, brother. All right.
Love you too, man.
All right.
Love you too.
Thank you. Oh, the signature move. Hey, Mike, show me your signature move. Oh, wrong side.
Yeah, it's on the heart.
Yes, it's on the heart. Guys,
love you guys.
Leave us a comment, message him, reach out to him if you're stuck in anything, guys. And I just want to say, please like, share, leave us a comment. Just reach out to any one of us to see how we can help you move on to whatever you got going on. All right.
Love you
guys have a good